Hello, fellow sinners. Tonight, I'm a good guy or good girl. I'm always a good girl. That was weird. Tonight, I bring you a story of a haunting that may seem like something out of a Hollywood movie. However, these are accounts that took place in real life, allegedly. You know how in movies, in horror movies, when there's that family about to move in a new home and there's all these red flags, but yet they still move into that new home? Let's see how many red flags you can spot before you feel that you would have decided that maybe this is not the place. I read this story in a book titled Haunted Files from the Edge, a paranormal investigator's explorations into infamous legends and extraordinary manifestations by Philip J. Imbrogno. I am very sorry, Philip. It's by you. Good job. The following case was investigated by Philip himself in the year 1981. This story revolves around a family of 5, a mother, a father, and 3 boys ages 5, 7, and 10. Now, the names of the individuals were not disclosed in the story, and so I will be referring to the parents as the mother/wife or the father/husband, etc. Okay. The family was looking for a place to reside in, and they found an old colonial home in Connecticut with a rent price of only, get this, $150 a month. My mind was blown. $150 a month. The father contacted the landlord and made arrangements to tour the home, the property. So the family arrives at the property on a Saturday afternoon, and they are simply blown away. The property was beautiful. The family gets ready to enter the home, and as they do, the adults are engaging in conversation when suddenly the youngest son, who was 5, begins to breathe heavily and runs out of the house while screaming, "That man wants to hurt me." What man? What? Red flag number 1. They all run after the boy as the landlord mutters, "Oh no, not again." Excuse me? Red flag number 2. The boy's parents ask if he's all right, and the boy says he heard a man's voice tell him that if they stayed in the house, they were all going to die. The parents somehow convince the boy to head back inside the home, and the family continues the tour. They all walk upstairs and enter the master bedroom, and as soon as they entered this room, they all felt extremely cold. This was a day midsummer in July. There's no reason for it to be cold. The wife even makes a comment saying, "This is creepy. Why is it so cold?" The landlord then jokingly says, "At least you'll save money on the electricity bill since you won't have to turn on the AC." Red flag number 3. He proceeds to tell the family that it would just get cold sometimes, but he couldn't figure out why. He thought it could have something to do with the closet connecting to the cellar by, get this, a hidden passage. Hell to the no. Apparently, a tunnel had been constructed in the early 19th century. Rumor was it had something to do with the Underground Railroad. However, he wasn't sure. One thing was for sure, though. The bedroom had an unnatural feeling to it, and the kids refused to even enter. Despite all the red flags, the parents decide the deal is too good to pass up. And to help make the kids feel better, they ask the landlord if they could have a dog since the kids had been wanting one for a while. The landlord replies with a strong yes. And this helps replace the kids' feelings of fear and unease with joy, and they all began to cheer. Yay, we're getting a dog. Over the next few days, the family begins to move in. Some friends and relatives even help along. When the family was getting ready to move in the last of their belongings, the father, along with his wife, friends, and family, enter the home, and they are all shocked to find all the moving boxes open. Some of them had even been turned over, and most of the dishes had been taken out of the boxes, and it appeared as if they had been thrown against the floor. At first, they thought someone had possibly broken in, but nothing was missing. Everyone starts cleaning up, and the wife's aunt asks to use the restroom. So she heads to the restroom, and within just a few minutes of being there, she starts screaming and runs out of the bathroom, crying. She tells everyone that while she was washing her hands, she saw a man with slashes all over his face in the mirror reflection. There was no one else in the restroom with her, and the wife's aunt refused to ever return to that home again. Understandably so. She seems to be the only one with some logic, if you ask me. Eventually, the family was all settled in. They even got a dog. One night, they invited a friend of the father to stay over for dinner. This friend sat in a spot at the table where he had a clear view of the front door. So everyone is eating, enjoying their meal, when suddenly this friend of the father faces the front door and asks, "Who are you?" The family, a bit puzzled, look at each other. I'm trying to reenact the scene for you, okay? So they're sitting there going, oh, and I'm chewing. That's why I'm doing this. So they're, who are you talking to? Who? There's no one there. Who are you talking to? The father's friend then goes pale. And he's completely speechless, doesn't say anything for a second or for a moment. And when he is finally able to speak again, he stumbles on his words and he's stuttering a bit, right? And he says that he saw a man standing by the front door. And this man had a hat on, apparently. He tipped his hat, smiled, and then just completely vanished. That same night, the oldest son, who would sleep in the room downstairs, lets the dog into his room so he could have some company, because he would sleep downstairs and everybody else would sleep upstairs. And at around 2 a.m. in the morning, he awoke to the sound of their dog growling. He probably, wakes up like, what's going on? And at the foot of his bed, there was a tall man just standing there. The boy pulls the covers over his head. Why do we always feel so protected under the covers? I don't know. Anywho, the boy pulls the covers over his head and he begins to scream. His parents and his brothers wake up and they all run downstairs and turn on the lights. The boy tells them what he had seen. The parents, trying to calm him down and avoid scaring the other children, they tell him, you know what, it was probably just a dream. That's what they always say, don't they? So the parents did stay up with him until eventually he fell back asleep. On another night, the mom wakes up, and as she's getting ready to walk down the stairs, she hears a woman's voice whisper in her right ear, "Get out of my house or you will die." She then feels two hands push against her back, causing her to fall down the stairs. The loud thud of her hitting the bottom wakes everyone up. Everyone runs downstairs to find her laying unconscious on the floor. Although she fractured her right arm and had a slight concussion, she had no serious injuries. Are these not signs for you to leave, is what I'm saying. Get out. With all these strange occurrences, the family was starting to understand why the rent was so cheap. The family continued to experience strange happenings. They would hear footsteps upstairs as if someone were pacing back and forth. They'd hear banging sounds, and the oldest son would continue to see the tall man appear in his room sometimes. His parents had installed 3 nightlights in his room, but they would turn off on their own. The mother was awakened one night by the feeling of someone sitting on the bed. So she wakes up and she tried to get up but couldn't move. She heard the woman's voice yet again. "If you don't get out now, I will kill you and your family." Now the mother was trying to move, but she couldn't. The woman's voice then screamed, "Get out!" And with this scream, the mother is finally able to move, and she tries to wake her husband. Wake up. The husband, tired and still half asleep, tells her, go back to sleep. You're just probably dreaming. They never listen. So the mother jumps out of bed and runs to check on the two younger kids who would sleep in the room kind of adjacent to theirs. The kids appear to be fine. They're sleeping. So now the mother is getting ready to go downstairs to check on the oldest son. Now, as she's getting ready to do this, the father, remember, he's still in the bedroom upstairs, right? Kind of still half asleep because he didn't listen to her. And he suddenly feels the sheets get yanked off of him. And now he tries to move, but now he can't. She tried to tell you. He then starts to feel as if 4 people were holding his arms and legs and were kind of pulling them in different directions. So he yells, "Stop!" The 2 youngest sons, who slept in the room next to their parents, hear their dad yell and run into the room, only to witness their father get pulled off the bed as if by some invisible force. The whole family, startled and scared, understandably, gathered together in the living room and stay up until dawn. They simply couldn't go back to sleep that night. The family now definitely wants to get the heck out of there, but they had nowhere to go, and so they decide to contact Philip, the investigator. So Philip arrives at the property, and at this point, the kids had been sent to stay at their grandmother's place. So Philip heads to the dining room with the husband and wife, and 2 of the decorative metal plates fly across the room, nearly hitting him. Now, being a paranormal investigator, Philip had witnessed paranormal activity before, but it had never really been directed at him. Philip then heads to the basement. He wants to inspect to see whether rats or rodents could possibly be the cause of some of the strange noises heard by the family. He takes his flashlight with him and he turns on the ceiling light. And right as Philip is about to reach the center of the basement, the lights go out and the door slams shut. So he immediately turns on the flashlight, but his flashlight starts dimming, almost like it's running out of battery, but the batteries were brand new. He slowly and carefully finds his way back to the door, only to find it locked. He pounds and yells until the couple came down and let him out. And as soon as the couple opened the door for him, the lights just turned back on. Philip also wanted to inspect that secret passage, but the wood was so damaged and so old that it was kind of dangerous for him to do so, so he didn't get to investigate or go in there. Now, Philip then decides to do some digging and research into the background of this house, right? And this is what he found. At the exact location of the house, there had once been a Native American village. The tribe that had resided there were the Munsee. The Munsee were very spiritual and religious. It was even believed that the Munsee land was cursed. You don't say. Philip also found that the home had been built in 1789, and its first owners, the Leeds, had sold it to George and Clara Loudon. George and Clara owned the home for about 4 years. In November 1830, George and Clara were found dead inside the home. Clara was found upstairs and George was found downstairs. And if you recall, the hauntings or the strange happenings happening upstairs tended to revolve around a woman, a female. And the occurrences downstairs tended to revolve around a man apparition or a male voice, remember? Coincidence? They had died under mysterious circumstances, and there was never a thorough investigation as to how they had actually passed. After that, the home remained vacant until the landlord's family purchased it, but he and his family had never actually lived in it. They had used it as an office space instead. And many of the workers had reported strange occurrences, but the landlord always chalked it up to their imaginations or, oh, I'm sure there's a logical explanation, kind of just didn't pay any mind to it. And after finding all this information, Philip decides to inform the family of his findings. However, he never disclosed the names of Clara and George, so just keep that in mind. Philip then suggests they hold a seance in this home using none other than a Ouija board. Philip wasn't sure how the couple would really take this, but surprisingly, they agree to it. So they get together to hold a seance one night with Philip, the husband, the wife, of course, and the husband and wife invited another couple who were friends of them. Now, something that I found very interesting is that this investigator, Philip, he's the investigator. However, he didn't place his hands on the planchette. He had the husband and the wife place their hands on the planchette. He's like, it's all you. It's all you. And surprisingly, the couple agreed to this. And now the seance begins like so. Phil, who are you? Response, spirit. Phil, are you Native American? Response, no. Phil, then who are you? Response, ancient spirit god. Phil, do you live in the house? Response, no house, my land. Leave. Phil, are you responsible for the disturbances in the house? Response, no, others are. Goodbye. Phil, we want to contact the spirits who are in the house. Response, hello. Phil, who are you? Give us your name. Response, George. Phil, is your name George? Response, yes, you know that. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be scary. Anywho, moving on. Back to spooky vibes. Phil, were you married to Clara? Response, still, she killed me. Phil, why? Response, demon had control. Phil, is she still in the house? Response, yes, upstairs, listening now. And right as the Ouija board had responded that Clara was in fact still there and listening upstairs, they hear the sound of footsteps, and it sounded as if someone had ran down the stairs and stopped at the end and then just ran back up the stairs. Phil couldn't help himself, so he gets up and heads over to the stairs and just looks up. And he says that he could feel as if someone or something were watching him. And everyone that was present said that when the Ouija board responded this, and after hearing those steps, they immediately felt this sense of someone or something being present, but not a good presence, kind of like an angry presence. Then Phil comes back, right, and continues to ask the Ouija board questions. Phil then asks, Clara, did you come down the stairs? Response, she will not talk. Phil, why? Response, demon has control, likes to hurt people. Phil, is this George? Response, yes, not leave her here alone. Phil, what can we do? Response, get demon to leave her before she hurts people. Phil, how? Response, goodbye. After that response, the couple that the husband and wife had invited to also be present, they get up and they go, this is too creepy. We're out. You guys need to get the heck out of this house. And they left. They said, peace. Good luck to you, but this is scary. This is a little more than we bargained for. Now, after the seance, the family had some peace for about 2 months. Then one day, the husband calls Philip up again. And he said that the kids were waking up with scratches and bruises. The oldest boy would have a constant bloody nose and even had to be taken to the ER at one point. This was the final straw for them, and they told Philip they had decided to move out. And I totally understand, because this got physical. I feel like somehow the seance made it worse, but that's just me. But okay. The couple decides, you know what, this is too much. This is where we draw the line. It's getting physical, and not with us now, but with our kids. So we're out. And they moved out. After the family moved out, the home was actually torn down shortly after. The land was then sold to a business, and within months, a 3-story office building was constructed on the exact location where the house had stood. Over the next 5 years, the property would be sold twice, and today it remains vacant, or at least today as in when the book was written. So I don't know if like today, present day, I'm not sure. And it didn't really specify where this home was, like the exact location. But apparently there's a lot of haunted locations in Connecticut. And due to this constant like selling, being vacant, Philip always wondered, did the new owners also experience strange phenomena possibly? We don't know for sure, and I guess we'll never know. Anywho, that was the story for tonight. What'd you guys think? Did you get scared? Are you gonna have nightmares? I hope not. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you in a future video. And happy spooky month. And yes, I think that's it. ASMR. I'm gonna work on it. I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking about it. Adios.